Movie studios will always lie to you, trying to spin negatives into positives in the hopes that the average consumer will never look beneath the surface of what they're saying. But the media, the ones who are supposed to be impartially informing us about what's going on in the world of entertainment, are also part of the grift. Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. The Shill Media will shield and defend companies either because they support the agendas being pushed or because they want to cozy up to big studios like Disney to retain access to special perks. Disney is probably the studio the shills work the hardest to defend, and this month has been no different. From attacking the fans to prop up a dying sci-fi brand to creating fake milestones to prop up a dead sci-fi brand, the Shill Media has been out in force to justify your decision to get your entertainment news from YouTube channels like this one. Review bombing, one of my favorite Shill Media buzzwords. Folks, review bombing is the shield that the media likes to put around properties like The Acolyte that get wrecked by fan critics. People don't like it, they go on, they've shared their disapproval. The show gets ratioed into oblivion, and instead of just accepting the fact that, hey, you know what, a lot of people didn't like this, we have to make excuses. So, our good friends at Screen Rant, one of the most heinous, abysmal shill platforms on the planet that loves to defend Disney, goes on to say, in spite of a favorable response from critics, The Acolyte is currently being review bombed on sites such as Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. The Disney era of Star Wars has hardly been an uncontroversial one, with the fandom dividing in the aftermath of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Those divisions remain to this day, as has been proven with The Acolyte. Showrunner Leslye Headland has proved especially controversial. That's because she's Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, and there's been a vocal backlash against the Star Wars TV show from certain parts of the fandom. Oh my God. At the time of this writing, The Acolyte has an audience score of just 32% on Rotten Tomatoes, while the show has a user score of 4.1 on Metacritic. Well, that was back in the glory days for Disney on this one, because if we take a look at Rotten Tomatoes right now, we can see that The Acolyte is currently, as of 11:13 a.m. on Monday, June 10th, 2024, sitting at 91% from Shill critics and 27% from the audience. Now, look, it is possible that the critics just legitimately like this. Maybe they have different sensibilities than the average viewing audience. But the idea of the fact that all of these negative reviews are bad faith, that it's being done to sabotage The Acolyte, being done to sabotage Leslye Headland, good Lord, that is the most arrogant argument I have ever heard. The only reason why people can't like your show is because they have to be trying to destroy you? No, maybe they just didn't like your show, you idiots. By the way, I would like to point out that I have never seen a cast and crew list in which the creator, writer, producer, director, showrunner, whatever, is the number one billed person on that. Leslye Headland, you are atrocious. Good Lord. The fact that they continue to put Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant front and center on everything is insane to me. How is it that Leslye Headland should be billed above people like Amanda Stenberg, who, I don't like her, but she is the lead of the show, Lee Jung-jae, Manny Jacinto, Carrie-Anne Moss, Daphne Keane? These are all actors. These are all people that are in the show, and Leslye Headland is your number one billed cast member? Come on! But it continues over on Comic Book Resources. The Acolyte gets review bombed, setting unfortunate Star Wars record. The scores from critics and audience are very far apart. Rotten Tomatoes, The Acolyte is sitting high, with critics earning an approval rating of 93% at the time of this writing, I guess. With the audience score much lower, sitting at 31%. Wow, those were the days. Per Screen Rant, the series appears to have fallen victim to a review bombing campaign. I love that we're citing that as like a legitimate source, because Screen Rant is defending Disney. Come on, Comic Book Resources. The Mary Sue, always a great website for impartial, great takes. They go on to say, like clockwork, annoying fans review bombed The Acolyte. I love how they put fans in quotes, as if you don't like this show, you are not a real fan of something. That, again, is arrogant and abhorrent, and you should be ashamed of yourself, Rachel Leichman. Star Wars fans do not suck. Star Wars, quote, fans who think only they know what this franchise represents, they suck. No, you suck, Rachel. You suck because you wrote this ridiculous article for this ridiculous website. Screen Rant checking in again just a day ago. The Acolyte's backlash and review bombing explained what's really going on. It couldn't possibly be that people just don't like this show, right? The Acolyte's diversity and representation have sparked controversy within the Star Wars fan base. Despite the negative reviews, Disney reports The Acolyte has been a success, with 4.8 million views on its first day
day of release. Of course, that's over 2 episodes, meaning 2.4 million per episode. But, you know, semantics. The real test will be how viewership goes over the course of the season, proving whether people stuck with the show. I think we all know what's about to happen. I think we're all about to stop getting updates on how this is going. Now let's take a look at Rotten Tomatoes, where we see all of the Star Wars saga movies and TV shows and how they were rated by fans and critics alike. All right, so now Ahsoka, the most recent one, 86% critic score, 67% audience score. Actually seems a little high considering how most people did not like that show and like nobody was watching it. However, I could see, like, look, Ahsoka was a show that presented a lot of member berries at you, and if you didn't really look beneath the surface, you would. At first, I liked Ahsoka. All right, the first couple of episodes, I was like, man, I'm in. I love this show, and then I realized it was just because I was seeing things that I liked. I was seeing Ahsoka Tano, I was seeing the Ghost, I was seeing Hera, I was seeing Choppa, I was seeing Sabine Wren, things I enjoyed in better shows, and Ahsoka was not presenting me with anything new. Andor, one of the more popular things, 96% from critics, 86% from the fans. So that should tell you something right there about Andor. People are very weirdly attached to this show. I did not get into it. I stopped watching after like the second or third episode. I really got to go back and watch it again, though, folks, because apparently I'm missing something. Obi-Wan Kenobi, 82% for critics, 62% from the audience. That's just 2% away from being rotten. I think a lot of this has to do with people that really like the prequels. They were supporting it because they were happy to just see Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor back. The fact that Obi-Wan Kenobi was completely destroyed as a character. There was one really good lightsaber fight at the end. I really did like that ending fight between Obi-Wan and Vader, but that's neither here nor there. The Book of Boba Fett may be the most egregious sin they have made up until The Acolyte. The Acolyte takes the win on that one. 52% from the audience, 66% from the Shill Media. So the Shill Media wasn't even shilling on that one. They were 100. They were only 6% away from making that rotten. Star Wars Visions, 98% to 65%. Star Wars The Bad Batch, 88 to 84. Critics and the fans were kind of together on that one. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, 51% to 86%. What the heck happened there? The Mandalorian, 90% to 78%. Star Wars Resistance, 92% to 47%. Solo: A Star Wars Story, 69% to 63%. The first ever Star Wars movie to lose money, by the way. The Last Jedi, where all of this began, 91% to 41%. Rogue One, 84 to 87. Force Awakens, 93 to 84. Rebels, 98 to 84. Clone Wars, 93 to 91. The Clone Wars movie, 19 to 40. That was a pretty bad movie with Stinky the Hut. You get it, folks. It goes on and on and on. And now we're getting into the original movies. So, man, people really didn't like episode 1. But then you have some members of the media that are actually calling this out. The critics must be crazy from Forbes. Eric Kane saying The Acolyte is just another mediocre Star Wars show. I'm sure he's getting death threats sent to him on Twitter as we speak from all the crazed shills for this show. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. This time it's Star Wars The Acolyte that has aroused the profoundly odd sensibilities of professional media class, that and the broken aggregation system that is Rotten Tomatoes. The latest show from the House of Mouse is fine at best, but you wouldn't know it perusing the internet. And this was back when it was 93% to 39%. Good Lord. So he says, Disney and the show's creators have billed this series as a darker delve into Star Wars. Critics have echoed this sentiment, calling it a show that makes bold choices. Inverse says The Acolyte is an experimental, galvanizing, standalone story that establishes a new caliber of what Star Wars TV can do. Galvanizing, new caliber. Gosh, we must be watching different shows. Elsewhere, we got quotes such as The Acolyte presents, in its first few episodes, a dashing adventure of mystery, action, impressive fight sequences, and a cat and mouse game that keeps you intrigued from one episode to the next. Really? None of that is true. But you know what? If that's your subjective opinion, that's fine. I'm not going to fault you for it. But man, that was not my experience. Showrunner Leslye Headland, best known as the former personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein. No, I'm sorry. Best known as the co-creator of the Netflix series Russian Doll, breathes new life into the Star Wars universe with The Acolyte. Leslye Headland has created one of the best Star Wars series to date, making it a character-driven revenge story over one relying on copious action sequences. Good Lord. Lightsabers, battles, and legacy characters to drive the series. Stop it. Here's a great quote. But really, the number of reviews calling this some version of a compelling mystery or a riveting thriller or Star Wars has never done this thing before simply boggles my mind. None of this is even remotely true. I say this as someone who has been mildly entertained by this series so far and will gladly watch the next 4 episodes. But really, you have to be realistic about these things. The only ground being broken here is in the cemetery where they bury our hopes and dreams. So clearly, folks, the media in full shill mode for The Acolyte. But that's not all. Disney also has the shill media on them for Doctor Who. The the now dead sci-fi series that was once great, the 60-year-old franchise, celebrated a major milestone. Doctor Who's first gay kiss ever in 60 years, according to Vulture. It's about time, Lord. You're a cut-up Tom Smith, a Vulture news blogger covering TV and pop culture. After 60 years of being on the air, Doctor Who has finally featured its first ever same-sex kiss between the Doctor, currently played by Ncuti Gatwa, and a bounty named Rogue, Jonathan Groff, in an episode set in the British Regency period. Leave it to the always wet Jonathan Groff to break a 60-year dry spell. Good Lord. Okay, so here's the thing, folks. I have no issue with the fact that there was a gay kiss on Doctor Who. Not at all. My issue is the fact that we're calling it the first ever gay kiss on Doctor Who in 60 years. Are you kidding me? Back in 2005, almost 20 years ago, we saw The Parting of the Ways, Season 1, Episode 13, starring Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor with companions Billy Piper as Rose Tyler and John Barrowman as Jack Harkness. And in that episode, the Doctor kisses Captain Jack Harkness. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the last time I checked, both John Barrowman and Christopher Eccleston are male and identify as male if you want to go that route. Also, back in 2017, Doctor Who's lesbian couple to share first on-screen kiss when Madame Vastra and Jenny, a married lesbian couple, kissed on screen. We're seeing this so much now in entertainment where everyone wants to have this big first moment, this groundbreaking social moment. But the problem is, folks, pretty much everything has already been done. We're seeing it in series like this, long-running series for 60 years that has already pretty much done everything that there is to do. We're also seeing it on shows like AEW Dynamite, where with Swerve Strickland won the world title, it was the first black champion, the first black manager of a black champion, the first black referee to officiate a wrestling match. We have become obsessed with these first moments. Look, folks, not everything can be Captain Kirk kissing Uhura on the bridge of the Enterprise in the original series of Star Trek. That was a landmark moment. This is not. This is not the first gay kiss on Doctor Who. It is the third. At least by my count. There might have even been more since I stopped watching. My point here, folks, is that you have to think for yourself. You cannot believe the things that the shill media is shoveling into your mouth. Do your own research. When someone tells you that something is the first ever thing that happened, look into it. over on The Acolyte, they've been talking about how they went for black kids, there were no Jedi that ever looked like them. Samuel L. Jackson would like a word with you, folks. But when Samuel L. Jackson was cast, they weren't going around writing shill articles about how Mace Windu becomes the first ever black Jedi. He was just a good actor cast in a good role and created an iconic Star Wars character. No one ever brought up the fact that Mace Windu was black. And therein lies the problem with modern entertainment. We are too obsessed with being the first ever to do something. We're too obsessed with creating these fake milestone moments. We don't let characters just be characters. We don't let stories just be stories. We don't let entertainment entertain us. And unless we stop that, then entertainment is going to fundamentally change forever, and there will be no coming back from it. When you hear the term review bombing, your eyebrow should instantly go up. It's just another media-created term to explain away passionate, legitimate criticism of a property that the shills want to desperately protect. Fan-blaming buzzwords like review bombing and made-up milestones that are completely false are all meant for one purpose and one purpose only: manipulation. They want to manipulate you into believing that by watching these shows, you're a good person because you're supporting marginalized people. Well, if you want to actually be a good person who supports people in need, then go out there and do something. Donate to legitimate charities. Volunteer your time at a homeless shelter. Put some good out in the world. Consuming product created by a company as soulless as Disney does not make you a good person. Only your actions can do that. Do you believe review bombing exists? Are you still watching Doctor Who in its current form? Sound off in the comment section below and let me know. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Click the little bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop. And please tell a friend about us. It really helps our new channel out. For all of us here at Toontown TV, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!